All right, diving in today, and get this, we're tackling a text in a head scratcher for centuries, really, the Lankavatara Sutra.
Centuries is right. And, it really makes you think about, well, everything.
Hmm.
Reality, consciousness, the works.
No kidding. And to think, for a good chunk of time, this thing was practically gone, vanished, poof.
Like a magic trick.
Yeah.
Which, funny enough, plays into this whole thing. See, we're talking 5th century China. A monk, Dharmashima, rolls in from India. And this guy, he's got a rep.
Oh, yeah.
Not just a scholar, but rumors, whispers of, like, magical abilities, prophecy, the whole 9 yards. Important because back then, magic, spirituality, two sides of the same coin, really.
So, translating these sutras, it wasn't just book learning, it was tapping into something bigger.
Exactly. Hidden powers, the real deal. So, Dharmakshima gets to China, starts translating. He even ends up advising the king. Can you believe it?
Talk about influence. Bet that ruffled some feathers.
You think? Shortly after, Dharmakshima ditches the court. Bam! Assassinated. Power struggles, intrigue, all because of these Buddhist teachings. Heavy stuff.
Makes you realize these weren't just words on a page, huh? So what happened to the sutra? You said it disappears.
Gone. Centuries. Like a secret only a few knew. Then, boom, resurfaces thanks to some dedicated folks.
The fact they went through all that trouble, that says something.
A text that survives assassination attempts, political chaos, and centuries of being lost? Come on, that's got to be something special. What makes this sutra different? What's the heart of it? At its core, it dives deep into reality. But, and here's the kicker, reality as we perceive it. Introduces this concept, svasiddha drishamatra, meaning nothing but the perceptions of our own mind.
Okay, hold on, rewind. Are we talking about, like, our minds projecting reality?
Ding, ding, ding. It challenges us to question everything we think we know about the world around us.
So instead of just saying, hey, go achieve enlightenment on your own, it's saying, hey, your mind is creating your reality.
You got it. To grasp this whole svasiddha drishamatra thing, just picture yourself with a steaming cup of tea.
Okay, I'm with you.
The aroma, that taste, even the way the mug feels in your hand.
Getting thirsty just thinking about it.
See, the sutra would say those sensations, those experiences, they're not separate from your mind. They are your mind. Not your mind seeing the tea. The tea, as you experience it, is a manifestation of your consciousness.
So it's not saying the outside world doesn't exist, just that, well, we experience it through our own personal filters.
Exactly. And that we're not just watching the movie, we're helping write the script. And this idea of really experiencing the truth, it's like you're tasting that tea, not just reading about it.
Reminds me of something you mentioned earlier, how Buddhist teachings use tautologies.
Exactly. The sutra invites you to explore this, not just through debate and all that, but through, well, you. It's like saying A equals A. Self-evident, but the impact, that aha moment, that's pratyatmagati, personal realization.
That's got to be what makes this so fascinating. Not handing you a belief system, it's saying, hey, go explore your own reality, see what you find.
Precisely. And to help us along, it uses these frameworks like maps for your consciousness. One is the 5 dharmas, how we perceive and label the world. Breaks it down.
So it's like the sutra gives us the tools to dissect our own experiences, show us how we're building our own realities piece by piece.
You got it. Another one, the 3 modes of reality, exploring different layers. The reality we create with our assumptions, the interconnectedness of everything, and then the ultimate reality, the one that goes beyond our usual this or that thinking.
Wow, okay, a lot to unpack there. But it's interesting, a text dealing with such big ideas, but it's not some dry philosophical thing. It's a story with characters, dialogue, the works.
Absolutely. The Lankavatara Sutra unfolds like a conversation between the Buddha and King Ravana.
Wait a second, Ravana? Like the Ravana from the Ramayana, the Hindu epic?
The one and only. Here he's this curious, wise king, looking for guidance from the Buddha himself.
Now that's a conversation I'd love to have heard. So what happens when these two heavy hitters meet up? What kind of questions does a king even ask the Buddha?
Ravana's questions, oh, he doesn't hold back. Gets right to the heart of Buddhist philosophy, We were talking about dharmas and non-dharmas.
Those fundamental building blocks of reality.
Exactly. And how to move beyond them. That's the key to liberation, see?
Okay, easier said than done, right?
Yeah.
How do you even abandon reality? What does that even look like?
That's where it gets interesting. The sutra uses all these metaphors, vivid imagery. It's not just talking at you, it's painting a picture.
I like that. So what kind of pictures are we painting? Got an example?
Sure. The Buddha talks about fire. Imagine that for a second. You could look at fire as this single unified thing, right?
Yeah, a dancing flame.
Right. Or you could zero in on the individual flames, each one flickering, moving, All part of the whole, but separate too.
I see where you're going with this.
Perspective changes everything, doesn't it? The fire's the same, but how we see it, that determines whether we're experiencing unity or diversity. It's like the sutra saying, hey, your mind, it's not just observing reality, it's got a hand in creating it.
Okay, so reality is kind of fluid then. Changes depending on how we're looking at it. And that's how we move beyond these dharmas and non-dharmas by shifting our perspective.
Now you're getting it. The sutra, it's all about challenging those rigid ways we think. We get so caught up in this or that, black or white, but the sutra is saying, hey, there's a whole lot of gray area in between.
Definitely making my brain do some work here, but in a good way. I'm starting to understand why this text has had people talking for centuries. It's not just giving you answers, it's making you ask better questions.
Exactly. And to guide us even further down the rabbit hole, the sutra introduces us to this character, Mahamati. He's a bodhisattva.
Someone on the path to enlightenment.
That's the one. And he's like this curious student asking all the questions we're probably thinking. He acts on behalf of Ravana, really digging deeper into the nature of reality.
So what happens? What does the Buddha say?
Get this. The Buddha lays down 108 statements. Each one, a different angle on this whole reality thing. 108. Wow, that's a lot to process. Are these like straightforward answers, like a cheat sheet for understanding reality?
Not quite. Think more like koans, those riddles, those head scratchers they use in Zen Buddhism.
To get you thinking outside the box.
Exactly. These statements, they're designed to, like, shake us up a little, get us out of our comfort zone of thinking.
Do you have an example? What do these statements even sound like?
One of them is, a statement about birth is about no birth. Another one, a statement about emptiness is about no emptiness.
Whoa, those sound like they contradict themselves.
That's the point. It's about breaking free from that either-or thinking. The sutra is saying, hey, it's not always so black and white.
So, 108 statements, each one like a mental puzzle. They're meant to make you think, really think about what you believe to be true.
Precisely. But this sutra, it's not all abstract philosophy, is it? There's got to be some practical guidance in there too, right? Like, how do we actually live these ideas?
You're right. It's not just heady concepts. The sutra gets down to the nitty-gritty of life. Like, for example, meat consumption. It has a really interesting take on that.
Now, that's something people are still debating today. Vegetarianism, veganism, it's a hot topic. What does the Lankavatara Sutra have to say about it?
It's surprisingly nuanced. It doesn't just lay down the law and say, thou shalt not eat meat. It goes deeper. It explores the karmic effects, the impact on our spiritual journey, even the whole system of the meat industry.
So it's not about following a rule book. It's about understanding that our choices have these ripple effects.
Exactly. It's all connected, you see. The sutra is reminding us to be mindful, to be compassionate, even in the smallest actions, like what we choose to eat. Every choice, every thought, it all matters.
Amazing how a text from centuries ago can feel so relevant today, This deep dive into the Lankavatara Sutra has been quite the journey. We've talked about its crazy history, wrapped our heads around some mind-bending ideas, and even looked at how it applies to our lives. But this is a lot to take in. Where do we even begin to apply these profound ideas? It feels like we've only scratched the surface.
Well, it's like anything, right? You got to start somewhere. And the Lankavatara Sutra, it gives us a good place to begin. Remember that idea? Svasita Drishyamatra?
Nothing but the perceptions of our own mind. Yeah, it's stuck with me, but how do we actually use it? It's a pretty big concept.
It is. But it's more than just a concept. It's like a tool, Here's the thing. Next time you're in a tough spot, really feeling it, instead of just reacting, take a breath. And remember, your experience is being shaped, filtered by your perceptions.
So not pretending the situation's not happening, but realizing we have a choice in how we see it.
Exactly. We get so caught up in thinking we're powerless, but the sutra is saying, hey, you're not just along for the ride, you're holding the map. We're active creators in our own lives, and understanding that, well, that's where the real power lies.
That's pretty empowering when you think about it. We're not just victims of circumstance. We have a say in how we experience the world.
Exactly. And when we realize that, that's when we can start making choices that lead to, well, a better life, really. More peace, more compassion, maybe even enlightenment. Who knows?
Yeah.
The sutra leaves that door open.
It definitely does. Well, I think that's a good place to leave it for today. This deep dive, it's been, eye-opening to say the least. We've gone from ancient assassins to talking about the nature of reality itself.
And the best part is there's always more to explore. This sutra, it's got layers.
That's for sure. So to our listeners, keep that curiosity going. Maybe grab a cup of tea, revisit some of these ideas, see what resonates with you. That's what the Lankavatara Sutra is all about, really. It's conversation starter. chance to look inward and ask some big questions. Until next time, keep exploring.